are now listening to the War Report Podcast Network.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the College Loop Podcast. I'm Larck on Twitter. Here to talk about the latest in Auburn athletics news as we get ready for Auburn basketball as they continue their SEC conference slate up next with Mississippi State. Before we get to that, we're going to talk about them later on in the show. Auburn Football has announced the date for their annual A-Day game. It is going to be on April 12th. I presume probably around early noon, probably 12 o'clock. And then, of course, you'll have baseball and softball going on the same day. So, yeah, always a great A-Day weekend. I'll be in attendance. Hopefully, what we're looking to do is continue the tradition, that is uniquely Auburn, is, we will do our College Loop March Madness bracket. The winner of that bracket will, of course, win 2 tickets to this year's A-Day game. So, and I've done the math this time. And I am pretty sure that March Madness ends the week before or week after. No, the week before A-Day. I will check as much as I possibly can. The national championship game for men's basketball men's basketball is April 7th. And that's a 5-day turnover. Hopefully by that point, we probably have a winner chosen. But that is the plan. Barring anything crazy happening, the plan is for the winner of the March Madness bracket will win 2 free tickets to A-Day. So, with A-Day being the topic of the football segment of today's show, I wanted to kind of look ahead. We're not even at the end of college football yet. We still have another game left. Not sadly per se. I'm going to be rooting for Notre Dame in this game. I don't think I didn't pick. I was completely wrong on my college football playoff prediction. Just in general, it was a tough look. I think I went with Oregon because I fully believe that since Oregon didn't win it this year, Oregon will never win a national championship. I fully believe it. This was their year to do it. They had the team, they had the defense, they had an offense, they had a veteran quarterback, 2 great wide receivers. You had every piece. You fell short. You got your butt kicked by Ohio State. You let Ryan Day get his win that he has never gotten as a head coach at Ohio State. Now you're allowing him the opportunity to play for national championship. So I'm rooting for Marcus Freeman and the Notre Dame Fighting Irish on the 20th. So that's next week, 6 days from now. I hate that college ball, the championship is always on a Monday. It's so stupid. Which, in that regard, I forgot to say this on the Sunday show. Happy 14-year anniversary of the Auburn's national championship. That was 4 days ago. At that and that. But yeah, what I wanted to do is getting way too early into A-Day before even spring practice starts for Auburn football, before anything happens. The 2025 class, or not 2025, 2025 class has now, the early enrollees at that point, have now moved onto campus. Now they're going to get prepared for spring practice not next month, but probably in March, where they'll practice all the way up to A-Day. And we're going to see, hopefully, some good football. It hasn't been that in a few. Last year was all Towns Magoo all over the place. And then, of course, the Cam Coleman catch at the end to seal the deal for the offense. So what I wanted to do, now finally getting back into it, it's been a long spiel just to get back into this. I wanted to look at the way too early position battles that Auburn fans should be watching out for. Now, I have a couple of honorable mentions. Of course, first up being tight end. So Preston Howard transferred in from Maryland, back-to-back off seasons where the Tigers have picked up a tight end from Maryland, last year being Rico Walker. So what does this mean? You lose 3 tight ends. You lost Todago, you lost Micah Riley, and of course you lost Rivaldo Fairweather. Now, you brought in Preston Howard, and you brought in 2 very solid tight ends as true freshmen, Hollis Davidson and Ryan Gee. And both those kids could play early. Would not be surprised in the slightest. You also want to see if Rico Walker could potentially get in on the mix. Why not throw out a long snapper out there as well? Just trying to get something going. Tight ends were not used fully last year, and I think tight ends were very heavily underutilized. And I think maybe you could see a little bit more. I think Preston Howard right now is the favorite because he's the transfer coming in. He probably has the most playing experience out of all the tight ends currently on roster. Of course, you have Brendan Fraser coming back too. I almost forgot to mention him as well. So yeah, I'd be very interested to see how the tight end position looks. It's not my top 5, but as an honorable mention. Another honorable mention, you know how much I love special teams. I had to put kicker on here. So jury's still out on the health of McPherson and whether or not he'll be able to I don't want to say not be able to play. We don't know severity and how long it'll affect him moving forward. But Auburn did retain Towns Magoo, and you brought in Connor Gibbs out of Southern Miss, the kicker out of the portal. So you're going to have probably a little battle to see who your backup kicker is if you can't get McPherson to go. I still think McPherson's the best kicker in the country if he is healthy and if he is ready to go. If he's 100%, it's McPherson all the way. But if he still needs a little time and you don't want to rush him at all because you don't want him to go out there and start missing kicks, give McPherson the time to get healthy, and I think he'll be the best. He's a Groza award-winning level kicker, and he has a hiccup, gets over the hiccup, he'll be an all-time great. But kicker is going to be a nice little thing to watch out for. Does Towns finally step back up to the mound and show out? So a chance to see that happen. So getting started with my top 5, right tackle is going to be right up there in my 5 slot. So Auburn did pick up a couple of tackles. Really, the guy who I'm going to account for is he looks at the interior offensive line by some people, but I think he's going to be playing right tackle for Auburn. Mason Murphy out of SoCal. So Auburn, I do also believe Xavion Miller might have announced he's returning. I can't remember. I know the JUCO rules have now changed so much over the past month. So right tackle and left tackle were of course the worst parts of the offensive line last year. Jeremiah Wright announced he'll be back. Dylan Wade announced he'll be back. So you think your interior offensive line is pretty solid, especially with Connor Liu at center. Left tackle, I don't know, and you did talk about it, but you went after that in the portal. Xavier Chaplin was a massive pickup, one of the top pickups for Auburn in the transfer portal. So you have 4 out of the 5 spots. Now, do you let Mason Murphy get it? Do you get Too Tall to return back to the Plains? I don't know if he's officially announced that he'll be back yet, but JUCO rules have said that you can come back for another year. And, of course, you have a bunch of guys sitting around waiting for chances. I mean, like guys like Tyler Johnson, guys who are just kind of waiting around for their moments. Ronan Chambers, another one of those guys from the last year's transfer portal class who could have a chance to step in. So right tackle will be an interesting part because you want this group of 5 linemen to be one of the SEC's best. Auburn had very iffy offensive line play. Percy Lewis is gone. Thank goodness for the transfer portal in that regard. So Auburn's left tackle, it's hard to get worse than what was last year. But your right tackle, you have to have a full unit that's ready to play. You know, you have different running backs back there this year. And I say different running backs, you have different starting running back. Damari Alston is going to be your RB1. Of course, you have Jeremiah Cobb still in the backfield. You'll have Darrell Robinson back there, potentially maybe a splash of Alvin Henderson. But mostly you're going to see Damari Alston. So giving him opportunities to get loose out of the backfield. And you need that with a solidified starting 5 up front. That's going to start with your battle. You're going to have it right tackle. At 4, I have edge rusher. Now, Jalen McLeod is going to the NFL draft, and that leaves Kieron Crawford as the presumptive starting edge rusher. Now, you look at what Auburn's bringing in from high school. Jared Smith is going to be stepping in. Caleb Falk, he listed as a linebacker, but he could play some edge if he want. If I believe he said he did want to play edge rusher, but he's listed as a linebacker per recruiting. And of course, you talk about the transfer portal. You bring in Chris Murray, who's a power rusher out of Sam Houston. You look at other guys all around the place that Auburn can play. And of course, you believe the job is straight up Kieran Crawford, and I think it will be. But it'll be interesting to see how likely are we to see these freshmen get in early? How often we see Jared Smith? He's an outstanding talent, and it's going to be kind of hard to keep him off the field. So I think he'll be an interesting look there. Number 3, wide receiver 2. So last year you had KLS. He had one of the greatest seasons of an Auburn wide receiver in recent memory. Cam Coleman stepped up as wide receiver 2 last year. Now you go into year 2, sophomore year of Cam Coleman, and now he's wide receiver 1. So he's solidified there. Malcolm Simmons, you're looking at and you're like wide receiver 2 or slot guy is what you're kind of thinking there. Eric Singleton, more of a slot guy, could play wide receiver 2 if Auburn played their cards right. Horatio Fields, bring him in from the transfer portal as well. You also got Perry Thompson, who you really need to get out in the field sooner rather than later. And of course, just those are the guys. Eric Singleton, Malcolm Simmons, Horatio Fields, and Perry Thompson, Bryce Kane as well, trying to get them involved as much as possible as well. Who do you put as the other outside guy? I mean, if you want to put Eric at the slot, and that opens up the spot for 3 guys. Horatio had a pretty decent year last year for Wake Forest. Perry Thompson, I don't want to say underperformed, but he didn't get on the field as much as anyone would have really expected him to. Malcolm Simmons had a great year just playing wherever the team needed him to be at. So you look at, and you assume that it'd be Perry playing on the other side. But on the depth chart, when you're looking at wide receiver 2, who does Auburn put there? If Cam Coleman is your solidified wide receiver 1, who is the guy after him? Who is your second best target on the field? Is it a transfer? Is it one of the frees 4 that are stepping into their sophomore years? We don't know yet. And we'll get to see that in a couple, basically 3 months from now. But yeah, wide receiver 2 is going to be a big talking point going forward. Number 2, the linebacker position. Eugene Asante, NFL draft. Dorian Mausi is out of here, and Austin Keys is off to the NFL draft. I don't know if Dorian Mausi might have declared for the NFL draft, but I might have missed that as well. He had a good enough year to have got himself some money out of the draft, but if he is not back, DeMarcus Riddick, you pretty much assume it is his defense to lead next year. You also have guys like DJ Barber and Joe Phillips out of last year's recruiting class. You picked up a couple linebackers, and by a couple, I mean you picked up one linebacker and Xavier Atkins out of LSU. Hopefully he'll be a better linebacker than Auburn's weird array of linebackers they picked up last year out of the portal. It was Dorian Mausi, and then there was just a bunch of other guys that Auburn's kind of brought in. But you look at like recruiting, you bring in Bryce Diaz, you brought in Elijah Melendez, and of course, just wherever you want to put Caleb Falk, you can put him anywhere on the defense. But if it's DeMarcus Riddick's defense, who do you put next to him? Robert Woodyard is going to be a great piece, and do you give him the keys to the kingdom there on the defense side of the ball? He'll be I think the oldest veteran guy at the linebacker room. So it'll be very interesting to see how this room kind of molds. This was a very underrated part of Auburn's defense last year. It was a part we were already expecting to do well because of Eugene and Austin, but I think it really emerged as, you didn't really have any weak links like you did the previous years. You had every guy who's able to step in and make plays whenever and wherever. Dorian Mausi was a for sure tackler. DeMarcus Riddick just made plays whenever. He was a human highlight reel. And of course, Eugene and Austin were just the best all-around linebackers on the team. So now with 3 out of the 4 of those gone, who steps into those roles going forward? Now, lastly, I don't think there's any surprise here. What the most intriguing battle is going on this spring. And of course, I could talk about corners. I mean, Jay Crawford, Amon Lane Gaines going to be getting in there. Safeties. You talk about Jaron Thompson leaving, a couple of guys who were, depth parts. Laquan Robinson transferring out. Now you can see more of the guys from the 24 class. I mean, I mentioned Amon Lane and Jay Crawford on the corner, but you have Caleb Harris going to be stepping in as a starting safety. But interior defense line was another one I thought about too. But I think when you talk about football positions and what the most important position on the field is, it's the quarterback position. So you bring in 2 transfer guys. You bring in Jackson Arnold. You bring in Ashton Daniels. You flipped and signed Deuce Knight. And, of course, Tanner Bailey get in there as well. But you pretty much assume that it's a 3-man race. It's Deuce, it's Jackson, it's Ashton. And it's going to be an interesting battle throughout the spring because I think that you open up possibilities. I mean, you automatically assume Deuce Knight's going to need a year. You think he might get redshirted. He's going to need to develop. He'll be more of a project guy, and he'll emerge in 2026 as an absolute stud. If Jackson Arnold has a great year, he'll go to the draft more than likely, just because of his talent and talent alone. If he had a great year with Auburn, so this job for Auburn is so important. The quarterback position this year is so important for Auburn in terms of what it means for the Hugh Freeze era, what it means for Auburn's win-loss record moving forward. I mean, it's like the 2 things that Hugh Freeze mentioned that he does well is turn teams around quickly and develop quarterbacks. Well, quarterbacks weren't getting developed, and the team has taken over 2 years to improve. Quarterback's going to be a key position battle here. Do you give Deuce Knight a real chance to get the starting job? Does Ashton Daniels pose a threat to Jackson Arnold's assumed given job? You automatically assume based on NIL pay, and you bring him in. He's a 5-star transfer. He's a former 5+ star player, one of the most talented passers in the game, and a dual threat guy who can make plays with his legs. You assume that it's him because of what he can do for Auburn football, but Ashton Daniels made a lot of plays at Stanford. He was throwing dimes over a Heisman winner and helped them take down Colorado. And Deuce Knight, of course, one of those talented quarterbacks to ever have come to Auburn's campus. So you're looking ahead, this job is very important for multiple reasons. And of course, it's going to be the biggest position to watch. Every single thing talking about spring practice coming up is going to be centered around this quarterback battle going on. So let me know what you think in the comment section below. Who do you think should be Auburn's starting quarterback? Do you assume Jackson Arnold? Actually, I'll say this. If Jackson Arnold is the starting quarterback, who should be the backup? Should Deuce Knight get that role if he earns? Or I guess if he earns it, he gets it. But what do you want to see out of Auburn's quarterback room this year? That's the simple question. What do you want to see out of Auburn's quarterback room this year going forward? Of course, spring practice is still a couple months away, so we got plenty of time to speculate about what this Auburn football team is going to look like. And of course, football season doesn't start till August anyways. So with that being said, that's going to do it for the football segment. We're going to quick little break. Other side of this break, we're going to come back and talk about some Auburn basketball because there's a new number 1 in town in college basketball. So we'll be right back after this short break.
Are you tired of having to rummage through just clothes after clothes after clothes looking for something to wear? Are you tired of your friends making fun of you for your terrible fashion sense? Well, do we have the shirt for you? Go to thewarreport.com, get your laptop out and do it right now. Go to the shop and get your very own Feelin' Loopy t-shirt as well as your college loop hat, and you can get both of them for only $25 each. Plus shipping and handling, of course. But with that, now back to your regular scheduled program.
Of course, available on thewarreport.com. Go to the shop. Second page, on the second page of the shop, you get the Feelin' Loopy t-shirt and the college loop hat. Most comfortable items you're going to wear in your entire life. But in reality, I want you to get the merch. I want you to satisfy your clothing desires with the college loop merch. But the best way you support the show, because that's in reality, it's like the 4th or 5th best way you support the show. The best way you support the show is, of course, by subscribing to the channel We're getting so very close to 1,000 subscribers. Looking at the sub count as we speak, 942 subs on the College Loop, all 942 of my favorite people in the world right now. They're up there. My fiance, of course, is going to be number one. But yeah, I want to shout out everybody who has been subscribed to the channel. Don't forget to also like and comment. I asked the question, what do you want to see out of Auburn's quarterback room and going into the 2025 season? And, of course, follow social medias. Just look up the College Loop, and you'll see us literally everywhere. Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, all of those at the College Loop. Go check us out over there. And then once you've done all that, then you can come back and get the merch. So now moving on to Auburn Basketball, who is officially the number one team in the country. The AP poll finally woke up. Now the AP poll is the greatest ranking in college basketball history. You know, over the past few weeks, they've not looked the best. It's been the kind of a sham, a shell of what it used to be. But now, all it took was 1 week, and they fixed everything. They woke up. They saw the vision of what Auburn basketball is, and now they've officially ranked them number one. Barring anything else happening, this is the best week of AP poll voting that we've seen thus far this season. So, this Auburn basketball team has a few storylines now. It's number one team in the country. Now it has to play against the number 15 team in the country this week. And by this week, I mean tonight at 6 o'clock p.m. CST. Currently a 7.5 point favorite over the Mississippi State Bulldogs, who has been one of the best teams in the country this year. They're only 14-2. They lost very close to Kentucky, which poses a immediate threat to Auburn because you have a great team coming off of a loss, and Auburn is down their best player in the country, Johni Broome, for an indefinite amount of time. We don't know how long Johni Broome will be out. I don't say hopefully, but hopefully. I don't know why I did. Hopefully you want him back sooner rather than later, but I want Johni Broome back at 100%. I don't want to see him back out there at 60 or 70. I want Johni Broome back better than ever, because Auburn's championship implications are devised around if Johni Broome is back on the court. So, looking at this game, there's two pretty high-flying offenses, pretty even across the board in terms of like assists and rebounds and field goal percentage. Both teams averaging over 80 a game. Mississippi State averaging 83.9, basically 84. And Auburn's averaging 86. So very, very even teams. Auburn coming off of a win at South Carolina, 66-63, in a hard-fought game where Auburn had to have some players step up. And that comes into play yet again because look at Mississippi State. I mean, they have some dudes. And you look at how they lost to Kentucky. Kentucky just shot the lights out. Look at Kentucky shot 50% as a team from the 3-point line, shot up 16 threes out of 32. Mississippi State threw up a lot of threes. They threw up 40 threes in a game and made 12 of them for 30%. And that the difference in the game right there. Free throws, I mean, it's pretty even, but Mississippi State shoots the free throws pretty well. And then shooting the ball. I mean, Mississippi State just didn't shoot the ball well against Kentucky. They definitely could have won that game. Key players here for Mississippi State: Josh Hubbard, sophomore guard, averaging 17 points a game, shooting 37% from the 3-point line, 42% from the field. But yeah, just an all-around scorer. I'm not too worried about the guard play here. I think that with him being on the smaller side, Denver Jones, Tahad, and Miles Kelly would be a great little trap monster for him to not let him take over a game. But without Johni Broome, you're looking at some guys who can make a difference for Mississippi State. You got guys like Keyshawn Murphy averaging 9 points a game and 7 rebounds at 6'10". Of course, you're believing that's going to be Dylan Cardwell's guy, but Dylan Cardwell cannot play all 40 minutes of the game. So looking at guys like Jaheim Hudson, who's going to have to be utilized defensively a lot in this game to help lock down the height of Keyshawn Murphy whenever Dylan Cardwell needs a break or reluctantly gets in the foul trouble. Of course, you also have Cameron Matthews, who's averaging 8 points and 7 rebounds himself. He's a 6'7" forward, and he's a big dude, 6'7", 235. So Auburn's gonna have to have their fair share of size here. You're looking at a team that relies a lot on guard play to score Mississippi State, but they have the forwards in the front court that are able to take over games when they need to. And you look at Kentucky. I believe you had a forward that led the team. Yeah, Cameron Matthews led Mississippi State in scoring with 19 in that game. He had a double-double, 19 and 10, and he shot the ball well. I mean, he had 2 of 3 from the three-point line. When you look at Auburn in this game, you get a little worried, but Auburn has a team that you can rally behind, even without their best player. I still think this is a very good Auburn team. I still think without Johni Broome, this team is still top 10. Even without Johni Broome. And Johni makes this team number 1. But I think this team is still top 10. You have the guard play. You just need someone to step up in Johni's absence. And I think you're looking at guys like Chad Baker-Mazara, who is going to be your key starter here. You got to run plays through CBM. You need a guy who can for sure score and can for sure lock down these forwards like Cameron Matthews, and I think that CBM can do it. But you also got guys like Chaney Johnson, who's going to be stepping into that 4 spot. And I think the mixture of Chaney and CBM would be a great mixture for this team. But I mean, you see those guys show out every day. And it's going to be the guys that don't show out so much that you're going to have to rely on now. Because those 5 minutes a game that Johni Broome was averaging are going to have to be spread across to other players. Ja'Kai Howard is going to have to play a lot more. Chris Moore is going to play some more. And, of course, I mentioned Jaheim Hudson earlier. Turtle is going to have to be playing a lot. You got to have guys defensively who can help Auburn lock down defenders. I keep saying lockdown defenders, but help lock down Mississippi State's offense. I think Auburn can find a way to win this game. Will it be easy? Absolutely not. The spread on this game, not like the spread matters in basketball, really. I don't really care about the spread in basketball. But the spread in this game is 7.5 in Auburn's favor. I think that's pretty fair. I think that Auburn can win this game probably along the same lines as Kentucky won the game against Mississippi State. If you can shoot the ball well and take advantage of Mississippi State, I mean, you are playing Mississippi State in one of the best, if not the best, definitely the best in the SEC, but one of the best in the country in terms of environments. And the jungle is just crazy. It's going to be packed out. It's a top 15 matchup. People are definitely camping out right now, waiting around for this game. If not, I mean, they're crazy. I've done it before, but I don't know if they're camping out right now. But you have an opportunity to make a statement if you're Auburn basketball. You got the number 1 ranking, but you don't have Johni Broome. You have to show the college basketball world that you can win a game without Johni. You kind of did last week versus South Carolina, but that was not a very good South Carolina team. This Mississippi State team beat that South Carolina team 85-50 just a week ago. 10 days ago from now. CBM and Chaney Johnson are going to be the most important out in that starting lineup because Chaney has to step up into that starting role. CBM now has to be the forefront of the offense. And now you need guys like Jaheim who are going to have to go in and help out Dylan Cardwell. Ja'Kai Howard's going to have to play more. Chris Moore's going to have to play more at the 4. And you need guys who can hustle. Auburn doesn't have height after Johni Broome goes out. I think Jaheim's like 6'7". Ja'Kai is like 6'6", and Simo, I think, is 6'4", if I'm not mistaken. So you need to hustle. You need to be ready to attack Mississippi State and take advantage of open shots. Miles Kelly, Tahad, and Denver have been doing that all year long. And Auburn cannot score any team in the country. But you have to be able to slow down Mississippi State. I think Auburn can do that. I like the spread. I don't know if Auburn covers that. I feel it's going to be a lot. I feel it's going to be very, very close. And I don't think either team gets to I'm kind of on the fence about if I think either team really gets to 80 in this game. So I'm going to go, because Auburn's defense is really good. I'm going to go Auburn's going to win the game. I'm going to go 76-72 in Auburn's favor. I think this game being in Neville Arena really plays into the confidence level I have for Auburn basketball. Of course, every game after that, you play at Georgia, and Georgia's now a top 25 team. That game could be a hiccup game, but we'll talk about the game later because that game is going to be on the 18th, which is going to be on Saturday. So we'll preview that on the next episode of the College Loop as we also recap this game today. But yeah, it's going to be a very interesting game. What does Auburn look like without Johni Broome? That's the question to answer tonight at 6 o'clock p.m. CST. That game, of course, will be on the SEC Network. So tune in. And, of course, the War Report will also be live afterwards, recapping that game. We'll be on – I don't say it will be on. And, of course, we'll be recapping the game on the Thursday show as well. So stay tuned for that. With that being said, that's it for this of the College Loop Podcast. I'm Dylan Larck. I will take on Twitter. Also find me on Instagram as well at Dylan Larck, DYLNLRCK. And, of course, right here at the College Loop Podcast, would you like, comment, and subscribe? Subscribe to the Loop because we are getting so close to 1,000 subscribers. 58. My math does me correct there. 58 subscribers away from 1,000. And I'm super excited for that. It's a milestone that I'm shocked that we're as close as we are to it. I didn't. It's not like I thought the podcast wouldn't do well. It's always surreal the moment you hit that 1K on any social media platform. It's like the big milestone that you hit before you hit every other milestone. I mean, you hit 100, you hit 500, but when you hit 1,000, it's just like another level of excitement. So super excited for that. YouTube Analytics says by my birthday, April 28th, I'll be able to see that 900 number change from a 999 to 1K, and it'll be so cool to watch. But yeah, check us out on social media, every platform at the College Loop, and of course, go find me on Twitter as well. But with that being said, this watching some of the College Loop Podcast. I said I'd potentially be on the recap if they ask me on the War Report. I will not, because I'll definitely be commentating a basketball game tonight. So I'll have to stay in touch with my Twitter account and make sure I'm up to date with everything going on. I'll probably have it on my phone while I'm watching a high school basketball game going on in the background. But yeah, thanks for watching some of the Country Podcast. And as always, War Eagle.